The chakras. We still do not know 1,000th of 1% of what nature has revealed to us. This is a statement made by Albert Einstein, and you probably know who he is, a smart cookie who knew a lot more about stuff than we do. Welcome to the Health Builders community. That reality that we are looking at so little, we actually see so little, is something that you're going to become more and more aware of as we go through this journey. We're still dealing with the subtle anatomy of mankind. That's the part of you that you cannot see with your eyes, but which drives everything that's happening in your body and contains that part of you that you know as you. That is your soul, your personality, your thoughts, and your feelings. We're beginning to appreciate that the human body is an awesome creation, with over 70 trillion living cells working in harmony together. It's absolutely remarkable how it all works together. The more we look at this, then the more we realize that none of this could ever really happen by chance. It leads us to the only conclusion, the only possible conclusion, which is that we were created. And as a result of that, you have no other option but to believe, well, there must be a creator. We're going to become more and more aware of the reality that our thoughts and our feelings are highly significant and important when in terms of our healing journey and restoring our health. In another course in this series, we will look at how you can harness the power of your thoughts and see a real and permanent change as you do so. But for the moment, we're focusing on how the life force energy that creates life travels from the source. The source, of course, is the giver of life, given to us by our Creator, down into our physical body. Looking at the picture, which looks like an ice cream cone, you can see at the top we have the spiritual energy, and as the life force travels down the cone towards the physical body, it becomes more and more dense and less expansive. Another way of saying this is that the frequency changes. You will learn a lot more about frequencies later on in this course. We've seen that it travels through the mental field and the emotional field, changing as it goes down through the different parts of the body into what we now call the etheric field. This part, the etheric field, is what we're looking at now in terms of the chakras, and this is where they live. This part of your energy field contains a multitude of different vibrational frequencies, most of which we've no idea about, but there are some components that we have been able to identify. Traveling into and through the etheric field, the next place the energy flows is into the chakras. Remember, all this is part of the unseen divine design of the human body, which is what gives you life and allows you to function in your physical body in this physical world. Interestingly, people who can see chakras say they are shaped a little bit like an ice cream cone in the way that the energy travels towards the physical body. I thought this was more than a coincidence, since it's the same analogy that I received when I was praying about it. The word chakra comes from the Sanskrit, which is Indian in origin, and the understanding comes from the Indian culture and their perception of how the energy flows. This is India as in the massive continent in the south of Asia. It's interesting that all the different cultures that have different ideas about these things don't contradict each other. They just see things in different ways. Years ago, I met a very interesting gentleman who had been brought up as a Christian in a Christian home, but he left home to find himself. He studied for many years in a Buddhist monastery, and the Buddhists taught him to be able to defocus his eyes so he could actually see the energy field. He was actually able to see the acupuncture points as little twinkling lights on the skin. And that's amazing, but he could actually see them. And that, of course, explains how the acupuncturists were able to figure this thing out thousands and thousands of years ago. Because if you can see them, it's not too hard to make a drawing of where they are. Anyway, at the time I met him, he'd become a very engaged and active Christian and was setting up small Christian groups across Africa. But he could still see the energy field. There is a spiritual dimension to everything, that God has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. And indeed, as we study the subtle anatomy of the human being, we find that it is not only mathematically perfect, but also beautiful in its simplicity and complexity at the same time. It is no coincidence that there are 7 chakras. There are also 7 major endocrine glands. The endocrine glands are your hormone glands. They produce the hormones that activate your body. And it actually transpires that the energy flows from the chakras through the meridians of the acupuncture system into the endocrine system of your body. So this is where the energy starts to become physical as we understand the physical world. Having said that, hormones are very subtle and very powerful biochemicals that have a huge impact with only the smallest number of molecules. Everything in the human body is beautifully mathematically perfect. 7 is a number of spiritual perfection, and you'll find 7s pop up all over the body in terms of the way it functions. It's no coincidence that there are 14 major meridians in the acupuncture system, and of course 14 is 7 times 2. And of course there are 7 major chakras and 7 endocrine glands. The mathematical precision on how the body is created is breathtaking, but more about that later. So the life force energy is flowing from the source and being molded and changed and adapted as it passes through your thoughts and your feelings, your emotions, so that it has now got to the specific energy patterns associated with the things that you are thinking about. And this energy now moves down into the chakras and travels down into the acupuncture meridians. Imagine if the pattern that you're thinking about, or the energy pattern that has been created, has been disrupted significantly by some huge trauma that you never managed to overcome. And remember, this is now in your supercomputer, that subconscious, unconscious part of you. Can you see that this would change the pattern of energy that is now entering your body? And that as a result of this, your physical body, which is fed by these energies, would be different because of these changes. If you can understand this, you can understand how thoughts and feelings can have an impact on the physical, and that by removing the blocks and the traumas that are changing the energy in a negative way, you can restore a positive energy to the body as well, and that changes the physical structure and creates health. Of course, that sounds like a big deal. How could this possibly be done? Well, energy kinesiology has the answer, as you will find out shortly, and it's very simple and it's very elegant. The above understanding obviously requires us to open our minds to the reality that life force energy exists and that it can be accessed with energy kinesiology in a positive way. I know this is a little bit challenging because you've never thought about these things before, but getting used to this way of thinking and understanding that this is how the energy is actually flowing in the body will be really helpful when it comes to developing your own healing journey and your own healing program. Along the way, you will start to recognize the places in your life where trauma has caused blocks, and it's exciting to be able to watch these change and see and feel the difference that it makes. Your body is supremely intelligent and is able to heal from what might seem like impossible situations. When it comes to chakras, your body will often create new chakras over energy or over areas where there's been injury so that it can bring more healing energy into that part of your body. This is just one interesting and amazing reality. Some people who can see energies see the chakras and they can see the energy flowing around them and in them. But not everybody can see energy. Most people can't, in fact. And that's why energy kinesiology is a game changer, because you don't have to be able to see the unseen world in order to interact with it and facilitate change. The indicator muscle provides you with the information you need. If you haven't taken the course that changes everything, called Learning Muscle Monitoring, then this statement will seem completely foreign to you. However, once you start to use the material, it will fall into place very easily and very quickly, and it will make so much sense, and it will change forever the way you look at healing and the human body. You can click the link in the description of this video below to access the course called Learning Muscle Monitoring. In our next session, or our next lesson, we're going to look at the acupuncture meridians and how the energy flows down through them into the physical body.